The night was quiet, and the small human town lay under a blanket of silence. The streetlights buzzed faintly, and the wind carried dust across the empty road. Inside a narrow apartment, a man named Daniel sat alone, staring at his empty dinner plate. His life was simple, almost too simple. Every day he worked at the factory. Every night he returned home to the same silence. No family, no close friends, just a life that passed one day after another. But that night was different. Daniel heard a knock on his door, slow, firm, and strange. He frowned. He never had visitors, not even neighbors. For a moment he thought, it was a mistake, but the knock came again, louder this time. He stood up and opened the door. What he saw made his breath freeze. A tall woman stood outside, but she was not human. Her skin shimmered with a faint silver glow. Her eyes were large and violet, like shining gems in the night. Her hair was dark, blue, falling in waves like flowing water. She wore clothing that looked royal, stitched with patterns that glowed faintly in the dark. Daniel's voice broke in confusion. Who are you?" The woman smiled gently, though her smile carried something heavy, like hidden sadness. "My name does not matter yet," she said softly. "What matters is this. I need your help." Daniel blinked. His heart raced. This had to be a dream. Aliens were real, he knew. But never had he imagined one standing at his door, asking for help. She stepped inside without waiting for an answer. The room filled with her strange presence. The air seemed heavier, filled with a faint perfume that did not belong to Earth. Daniel shut the door slowly, unsure if he should run or stay. The woman turned to him. "I need you to pretend to be my husband." Daniel's jaw nearly dropped. "Your husband? What are you talking about?" Her eyes locked onto his, firm and unshaken. "I will pay you, I will protect you. All I need is for you to stand by my side as my husband, nothing more, nothing less." Daniel laughed nervously. "Is this some kind of joke? Why me? I'm just no one." But she did not laugh. Instead, she reached into her robe and pulled out a small crystal. It glowed with blue fire. Inside, Daniel saw numbers forming. Credits. More money than he had ever seen in his life. It could buy him a new home, a new life, maybe even freedom from his endless routine. His mouth went dry. He wanted to ask why, but the words stuck in his throat. She continued, her voice lower now. "I cannot marry one of my own people. If I do, I will lose everything. They will control me. They will use me. That is why I chose you." Daniel swallowed, hard. The idea sounded insane. A factory worker pretending to be the husband of a royal alien woman. If anyone discovered the truth, what would happen? Death? Prison? Something worse? Still, her eyes begged him, not with weakness but with desperate strength. He saw in her gaze a secret she was not yet ready to reveal. "Why should I trust you?" he asked. His voice shook. She tilted her head, her violet eyes glowing brighter. "Because, Daniel, I know your life. I know your loneliness. You think no one notices, but I do. You have nothing to lose, but with me, you will have everything." Her words cut deep. How did she know his name? His life? Was she watching him? All along, Daniel stepped back, his mind spinning. "This is crazy," he whispered. She moved closer, her tall figure towering over him. Yet her voice was soft, almost pleading. "If you say no, I will leave. You will never see me again. But if you say, yes, your world will change forever." The silence in the room grew heavy. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. He thought of his empty life, his empty future. Was this a trap? Or was this fate knocking at his door? He looked at her again, at the way she stood strong despite the fear he sensed hidden inside her. She was powerful, yet fragile, brave, yet cornered. Finally, Daniel whispered, "What exactly do you want me to do?" She smiled faintly, though her eyes still carried shadows. "Tomorrow you will walk beside me into my world. You will play the role of my husband. You will eat at my table, stand in my court, and face those who doubt me. I will teach you everything. You need to know, but you must never reveal the truth. Daniel felt a shiver run through him. Pretend to be her husband, stand before aliens, lie to an entire empire. Could he do that? But then he thought of the crystal, the money, the chance. To escape his empty life, he took a long breath, his voice shaking as he said, "All right, I'll do it." The alien woman's eyes softened for the first time. For a brief moment, he thought he saw relief, and something else. Hope. But deep inside, Daniel knew this was only the beginning. He had just stepped into something far bigger than himself, and somewhere in the shadows, unseen eyes were already watching. The next morning, Daniel woke to the sound of humming. It was not from Earth, it was coming from the woman who now stood in his small apartment. Her silver skin glowed faintly in the daylight, and her violet eyes studied him with calm patience. "Are you ready?" she asked. Daniel rubbed his eyes. "Ready for what?" "To meet my people," she said. "You are my husband now, and we cannot waste time." Before he could argue, she touched a device on her wrist. A beam of light spread across the room, and in a heartbeat, the world around him vanished. Daniel gasped. His apartment disappeared, and he found himself standing inside a vast hall of light. The ceiling stretched so high that it vanished into shadows. Walls shimmered like glass mixed with stars. Alien figures walked across the marble-like floor, their robes glowing with faint energy. Whispers rose instantly. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward him, some wide with shock, others narrowing with suspicion. Daniel felt his knees weaken. He had never been the center of attention, and now an entire alien court stared at him. The woman placed her hand on his arm, steady but firm. "Do not look afraid," she whispered. "They can smell fear." Daniel forced himself to stand straight. His heart raced, but he kept his chin up. At the far end of the hall sat a group of alien leaders. They were older, their eyes sharper, their robes heavier with symbols of power. The tallest one leaned forward, his voice echoing. "So? The princess has chosen a human as her husband." Daniel froze. "Princess? She was a princess?" The woman's voice was steady. "Yes, I have chosen him. He is mine, and I am his." The court erupted in murmurs. Daniel caught words he did not understand. Mixed with laughter and disbelief, one of the leaders sneered. "A human? Weak, soft, unworthy. How can he protect you? How can he rule beside you?" Daniel's stomach tightened. He wanted to vanish, but the princess squeezed his arm again. Her touch said, "Be strong." She lifted her chin proudly. "Strength is not only in muscle. It is in loyalty, in courage. He is my choice, and that is final." The hall went silent, but Daniel felt the weight of their glares. He understood. He was not welcome here. He was an intruder. After the court session, they walked. Through the glowing corridors, aliens whispered behind them. Daniel caught fragments. "Fake husband. Disgrace. Dangerous." He leaned close to her, whispering, "What have you dragged me into?" Her eyes flickered, not with anger, but with something darker. Fear. "You must play your role, Daniel. If they suspect you are not my real husband, they will destroy both of us." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to ask why, but her eyes warned him to stay silent. They entered her private chambers, vast and filled with strange artifacts, glowing crystals, and floating scrolls. She sat. On a golden chair, her body suddenly heavy. Daniel stood awkwardly. "You're a princess, why didn't you tell me?" Her gaze met his, calm but tired. "If I told you, would you have agreed?" He hesitated. She was right. If she had said pretend to be the husband of an alien princess in front of her entire empire, he would have slammed the door shut. Now it was too late. She leaned closer, her voice low. "Listen carefully. My people believe I must marry one of them. If I do, I will lose my power. I will become a puppet. That is why you are important. You are my shield." Daniel's mouth went dry. "Shield? I'm just a factory worker. I don't know how to act in a royal court." Her lips curved in a faint smile, though sadness hid behind it. Then you must learn fast, because tonight, there is a royal banquet. You will sit beside me. You will eat what I eat. You will drink what I drink, and you will look into the eyes of those who want us dead. Daniel's blood ran cold. Dead? She did not answer directly. Instead, she looked at the window where twin suns were setting, painting the sky in gold and violet. Every smile here hides a knife. Every word is a test. If you fail, they will know you are not my true husband. And if that happens, neither of us will survive. Daniel sat heavily on a chair. His hands shook. He had never been to a banquet, not even on Earth. And now he had to face alien royalty who already wanted him gone. That night came too fast. The banquet hall shimmered with lights, long tables covered with foods Daniel could not name, dishes that glowed, liquids that steamed like smoke, and fruits that pulsed with faint energy. Music played, haunting and strange, filling the air with tension. Daniel walked beside the princess. Every eye in the room turned to them. He felt like prey walking into a den of predators. She guided him to their seats, whispering, "Smile, but not too much. Show them you belong." "Even if you don't," Daniel tried, forcing a small smile. His hands trembled as he picked up a cup filled with glowing liquid. He raised it as others did. His heart beat so fast he thought it might burst. Then, just as he brought the cup to his lips, he noticed something strange. His drink shimmered darker than the others. A faint mist curled from it. Unlike the rest, his eyes widened. Poison. He froze, the cup shaking in his hand. He glanced at the princess. Her smile never broke, but her eyes flickered with warning. "Drink," she whispered, her voice calm but sharp like a blade. Daniel's heart stopped. If he drank, he could die. If he refused, they would know something was wrong. And at that moment, Daniel realized this was no game. This was life and death. Daniel's hand shook as he held the cup of glowing liquid. The banquet hall was silent. Every alien eye stared at him, waiting. The princess whispered again, her voice calm but sharp. "Drink." Daniel's throat tightened. He knew something was wrong with his cup. The mist rising from it was not normal. But if he refused, they would suspect him. And if they suspected, everything would fall apart. He lifted the cup slowly. His mind raced. He tilted it toward his lips. Then at the last second, he let the liquid only touch his mouth before setting the cup down. He forced a smile as though he had taken a sip. The princess glanced at him briefly, her expression unreadable, but in her violet eyes, Daniel saw approval. The music began again. Conversations filled the hall, but Daniel's chest was tight. Someone had tried to poison him, not her, he thought. It wasn't her, she had warned him in her own way, so who was it? Later, when the banquet ended and the guests left with their cold stares, Daniel and the princess returned to her chambers. The heavy doors closed behind them. She turned to him immediately. "You noticed?" Daniel nodded. "That cup was poisoned." Her expression darkened. "Yes. And now you understand this is not just about pretending, this is survival. They want me gone, and now they want you gone too." Daniel sat heavily on the edge of a golden chair. His hands shook. "Why? I don't matter to them, I'm just a fake husband." Her voice was low, steady. "Because your presence means they cannot control me. As long as I am married, no rival suitor can take my throne. You are the wall between me and their power." Daniel swallowed. His heart pounded. He had thought this was only an act, an easy job for money. But now it was different. Now he was a target. That night, sleep would not come. The palace halls echoed with whispers and footsteps that never seemed to fade. Daniel felt eyes on him even when the room was empty. Then, near midnight, a faint sound came. A soft rustle near his door. He stood up slowly, his chest tightened. Sliding under the door was a thin piece of parchment. Glowing faintly with alien symbols, he picked it up with trembling fingers. The words shimmered, but somehow he understood them. "Leave her, or die." Daniel froze. His blood turned cold. He wanted to run. He wanted to pack whatever he could. and vanish back to Earth, but something stopped him. It was her, the way she had looked at him with hope hidden behind her strength. He couldn't walk away, not yet. The next morning, Daniel confronted her. "Someone slipped me a note," he said, showing her the parchment. Her eyes flickered, anger flashing for the first time. She crushed the parchment in her hand until it turned to ash. "They grow bold," she whispered. "But listen to me, Daniel. You cannot show fear. You must stand taller than them. If they see weakness, they will destroy us both." Daniel nodded, but inside, fear gnawed at him. Later that day, she led him through the city outside the palace. It was vast, filled with tall towers of crystal, flying ships that hummed above, and markets where aliens traded glowing fruits and weapons shaped like light whispers followed them. Everywhere they walked, voices hissed behind them. The human husband. Unworthy. Weak. A mistake. Daniel clenched his fists. He wanted to shout, but the princess whispered, "Ignore them. Their words are poison. Do not let them see your pain." At the market, as they passed a crowded street, a figure pushed. Through the crowd, his hood was low, hiding his face. Suddenly, the figure lunged. A blade of red energy flashed, aimed straight for Daniel's chest. Daniel froze, but before the strike landed, the princess moved, her hand lit with bright violet. Fire, and she caught the blade with her bare palm. The weapon dissolved into sparks. Guards rushed forward, seizing the hooded attacker. The crowd scattered, gasping. Daniel's heart thundered. The princess's hand shook faintly, though her eyes remained cold. She turned to the guards, her voice like steel. "Find who sent him, tear apart their lies." The attacker struggled as guards dragged him away. His voice broke into laughter, wild and cruel. "You think he can save you? He is nothing. He will die before the sun set." Daniel shivered. That night the palace felt colder. The princess stood by the window, her back to him. The twin moons glowed on her silver skin. She finally spoke, her voice low. "They will not stop, Daniel. They will come again and again until one of us falls." Daniel stepped closer. "Then tell me the truth. Who is behind this? Who wants you dead?" She turned slowly. Her eyes were sharp, but beneath them was fear she could no longer hide. "The council," she whispered. "The very leaders you saw in the court. They smile in the light but strike in the shadows, and now they know. They cannot control me as long as you are here." Daniel's chest tightened. He was not just pretending anymore. He was standing in the middle of a war he did not understand. The princess walked toward him. Her violet eyes glowed like fire. "From now on, trust no one. Not the guards, not the servants. Not even those who call me family. The enemy hides everywhere, but tonight proved one thing." She stopped in front of him. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They are no longer only after me, Daniel. Now, they are after you." And in that moment, Daniel realized his life was no longer his own. He was trapped in a deadly game, and the shadows around him were closing in. The palace no longer felt safe. Each shadow in the long, glowing corridors seemed alive. Daniel walked close to the princess, his mind heavy with questions. Every glance from the guards, every whisper from the servants felt like a knife pointed at his back. He could not stop thinking about the warning note. Leave her or die. Someone wanted him gone, but worse. He could not shake the thought that maybe, just maybe, she was not telling him the full truth. That evening, as they entered her chambers, Daniel finally spoke. "You knew they would try to kill me, didn't you?" The princess turned slowly. Her violet eyes reflected the light of the twin moons through the window. "I suspected," she admitted, calm but firm. "That is why I chose you. You are not from here. You are the one thing they cannot predict." Her words cut into him. Was he just a shield? A tool? Someone she could throw away if things went wrong? Daniel clenched his fists. "You're not telling me everything. What are you hiding?" For the first time, her proud shoulders lowered. Her voice softened. "I do not trust easily, Daniel. I cannot afford to. My family was betrayed. My parents, poisoned in this very palace if I marry one of my own. The same fate will come for me. That is why I turned to you." Daniel stared at her. The weight of her confession was heavy. Behind her strength was pain, a wound that had never healed. Still, doubt gnawed at him. "And if I fail, what then? Will you simply find another human to take my place?" Her eyes widened slightly as if struck. She stepped closer, her voice trembling for the first time. "No, you are more than that. I chose you because you are different, because I saw something in you, something even my people have lost." Daniel's breath caught. Her words carried honesty, yet his heart still whispered questions he could not silence. The next night, the royal banquet hall filled again, this time for a festival of light. Aliens gathered from across the empire, music thundered through the air, tables overflowed with glowing dishes, and laughter echoed. Daniel sat beside the princess, forcing a calm smile. His eyes scanned the hall constantly, searching for danger. Every guard looked suspicious, every servant a possible traitor. As the evening continued, a servant approached, carrying golden cups filled with a sweet-smelling drink. Daniel watched carefully, remembering the poison from before. He picked up his cup but did not drink. Instead, he glanced at the princess. She raised hers gracefully and drank without hesitation. Her violet eyes flickered toward him, sharp as a blade. "Drink," she whispered again. But this time, he hesitated. Something in her tone made him uneasy. He looked down at the liquid, clear and glowing faintly. He swirled it slowly. His mind whispered, "What if she knew? What if this time she wants me gone?" He froze. His heart raced. Was she truly protecting him, or was he just another pawn in her desperate game? Before he could decide, a loud cry cut through the hall. One of the guests collapsed, foaming at the mouth. The crowd gasped. Panic spread. Daniel dropped his cup immediately. His eyes widened. The drink had been poisoned, but not his. Someone else had been targeted. The hall erupted into chaos. Guards rushed, servants screamed. The princess rose tall, her voice echoing. "Silence!" Her command cut through the panic. The hall stilled. Her eyes burned as she glared at the guests. "There are traitors among us, and they dare to strike even here." Daniel's chest tightened. Whoever the enemy was, they were no longer hiding in shadows. They were striking openly. Later, back in her chambers, Daniel paced. That could have been me again. The princess sat quietly, her hands folded. "No," she said softly. "This time, it was meant for another. They are sending a message. They want us to know that no one is safe." Daniel stopped, frustration boiling. "How can I trust anyone here? Even you?" Her eyes lifted to his, pained but steady. "You doubt me," she said, almost like a whisper. He hesitated, guilt rising, but he did not back down. "I don't know what to believe. You brought me here, told me to pretend, told me I'd be safe, and now I'm standing in the middle of a war. I don't even know if I'm your partner or your sacrifice." Her face softened, and for the first time she let her mask fall. He saw tears shining in her violet eyes. She stood and came closer, her voice trembling. "You are not my sacrifice, Daniel. You are my only chance. Without you, I am already dead." The words struck deep. His doubt faltered. Beneath her strength and pride, she was terrified. And yet she still stood tall, fighting alone against enemies hidden in every corner. Before he could answer, a knock thundered at the door. A guard entered quickly, bowing. "Your Highness, we caught a spy." The princess's eyes sharpened. "Bring him." Moments later, 2 guards dragged in a cloaked figure. The spy's face was pale, eyes wild with fear. But when he looked at Daniel, his lips twisted into a grin. "He doesn't belong here." The spy spat. "He is your weakness, your doom." Daniel stiffened. The guards struck the spy to silence him, but his words echoed in Daniel's mind. Weakness. Doom. The princess stepped forward, her hand glowing with violet fire. "Tell me who sent you, speak, or you will burn." The spy laughed. "You already know, princess. The council will never stop. And when they are finished, the human will be the first to fall." Daniel's stomach turned cold, his doubts grew heavier. Who was truly his enemy? The council, the spy, or the very woman he stood beside? And as the guards dragged the spy away, Daniel realized one truth. Trust was no longer simple. It was a weapon, and the wrong choice could kill him. The days after the spy's capture were heavy with silence. Daniel could feel the tension in every corner of the palace. The guards whispered more, the servants kept their eyes lowered, and the princess seemed even more watchful. But something was changing. For the first time since he arrived, Daniel noticed that the princess began to include him in her world. She no longer treated him only as a shield, but as someone she could trust. At night, she spoke to him, not as a ruler, but as a person. One evening, she sat near the glowing fire crystal in her chamber, her violet eyes dim under the shadows. When I was a child, she began softly, my parents told me stories of humans. They said you were creatures of chaos, unpredictable, dangerous. But when I grew older, I saw another truth. Humans fight not because they must, but because they choose to. You fight for each other. Daniel listened, surprised. Her words carried both wonder and sorrow. I needed someone who would stand with me, not for power, not for wealth, but because it was right, she continued. Her gaze lifted to his, steady and bright. That is why I chose you. Daniel's chest tightened. For the first time, he felt more than fear. There was a bond forming between them, fragile yet real. The next day, she insisted they visit the market again. The people must see us together, she said. If they believe in us, the council's lies will weaken. They walked side by side through the crowded streets. Daniel noticed the way aliens stared, less with scorn and more with curiosity. Some even bowed their heads. For a moment, he almost felt like he belonged. But then it happened. From the rooftops above, a figure leaped down, cloaked and armed. The crowd screamed as the attacker drew a weapon glowing with red light, aimed directly at the princess. Daniel's instincts took over. He grabbed a piece of metal from a nearby stall, swinging it wildly. The blow struck the attacker's arm. Knocking the weapon aside, the princess raised her hand, her violet fire bursting to life. She struck the attacker down in a blaze of light. Guards rushed forward, dragging the body away. Daniel's heart pounded. He had acted without thinking. Without his strike, she might have been killed. The princess turned to him, her face pale with shock. For the first time, her voice trembled. You saved me." Daniel shrugged, though his chest still thundered. "I couldn't just stand there." But her eyes softened, and she stepped closer, whispering, "No one has ever done that for me, not even those sworn to protect me." From that day forward, the bond between them grew. She began to share secrets with him, stories of her people, of the council's cruel games, and the pain she carried from her parents' death. At night, Daniel often caught her staring at him quietly, not with suspicion, but with something gentler, yet danger never left. One evening, as they dined in her chambers, guards stormed in with another prisoner, a spy, bloodied but smiling. He was forced to his knees before them. The princess demanded, "Who sent you?" The spy laughed, spitting blood. His eyes turned to Daniel. "It's not her they want anymore," he whispered, his grin sharp. "It's you, human. You are the threat now." Daniel froze. The words rang in his head. "They want me." The guards dragged the spy away, but the silence that followed was heavier than any blade. Daniel turned to her, his voice shaking. "Why me? Why are they after me?" The princess's gaze was troubled. "Because you are not like us. You are outside their control. They cannot predict you, and that terrifies them." Daniel leaned back, his mind racing. He had come here thinking he was just playing a role, pretending to be a husband. But now he realized he had become something more. That night the palace seemed too quiet. Daniel walked the halls alone. His thoughts were heavy. He remembered his old life, his small apartment, his empty days, the silence that had once felt endless. Now he was caught in a storm of danger and lies. But for the first time he felt alive. He mattered. He returned to her chamber, where she stood at the window, watching the twin moons. Without turning, she spoke softly. "Do you regret it? Coming with me?" Daniel hesitated. His old life flashed in his mind. Then he looked at her, strong yet vulnerable, alone yet still fighting. "No," he said quietly. "I don't regret it." She finally turned, her violet eyes shining under the moonlight. For the first time she smiled. Not the careful royal smile she showed the court, but a real smile, fragile and human. And in that moment, Daniel understood something frightening and wonderful. This was no longer just an act, no longer just a contract. The bond between them was real, but deep inside, he also knew one truth. Bonds could make them stronger, but they could also make them easier to destroy. And somewhere in the shadows of the palace, unseen eyes watched, plotting the next strike. The bond between Daniel and the princess had grown, but bonds were dangerous in a palace filled with lies. The council had gone silent after the last attack, but Daniel felt the quiet was not peace. It was the silence of hunters waiting for the right moment. He could not sleep at night. Each sound in the corridors made him tense. Each guard's stare felt sharper than a blade. Then, one evening, the silence shattered. Daniel entered the grand hall for a meeting with the council. The princess walked at his side, tall and proud. Yet Daniel noticed her hands were tense. She did not trust this gathering, and neither did he. The council sat in a half circle, their robes heavy with symbols of power. Their eyes glowed with suspicion. The tallest elder spoke first, his voice sharp. "Princess, we allowed your human husband to stand beside you, but now we hear whispers, dark whispers, that he is not your husband at all, merely a pretender." The hall fell silent. Daniel's blood ran cold. The princess's voice was firm. "Lies. He is mine, chosen by me, and no one will question that." But the elder smiled coldly. "Then explain this." He clapped his hands, and two guards dragged in a servant. One Daniel had seen before, a quiet man who often delivered food to their chambers. The servant's eyes were wide with fear. His hand shook as he pointed at Daniel. "He is not her husband. He is no royal. He is an outsider, paid to wear the mask of a husband." Daniel's chest tightened. His secret, their secret, was spilling into the open. The council gasped. Voices rose in anger. "Deception! Treason! Betrayal!" The princess stood tall, her voice sharp as steel. "Enough. You dare accuse me based on the words of a frightened servant? You insult your princess." But the elder leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. "Then let the human speak. Let him tell us who he truly is." All eyes turned to Daniel. His throat went dry. He wanted to shout the truth, to say he was nothing but a factory worker dragged into this. But then he saw her face, the fear behind her calm mask, the silent plea in her violet eyes. If he spoke the truth, she would lose everything, and they would both be destroyed. Daniel took a long breath. His voice shook, but did not break. "I am her husband," he said firmly. "I may not look like you. I may not speak like you. But I am hers and she is mine." The council erupted into arguments. Some laughed, others roared in anger. Guards moved closer, their weapons humming. The elder raised his hand, silencing the hall. His cold smile widened. "If you are truly her husband, then prove it. Stand against trial, stand against death. If you survive, perhaps we will believe you." Daniel's stomach dropped. Trial? Death? This was no court of law. It was a trap. The princess stepped forward, fury in her voice. "You dare. He is my husband, and you will not touch him." But the elder sneered. "Then your kingdom is already lost. For if your husband cannot endure, neither can you." The guards advanced, surrounding Daniel. His heart pounded. He felt the trap closing around him. Then the betrayal struck. From behind, one of the princess's own advisors stepped forward, a man she had trusted for years. His voice rang out. "Forgive me, princess, but I cannot protect you if you continue this lie. This human is your downfall." Daniel froze. He had seen this advisor many times, speaking softly to the princess, guiding her decisions. She trusted him. But now, he stood with the council, his loyalty broken. The princess's eyes widened, a rare flash of pain breaking her mask. "You," she whispered, "you betrayed me." The advisor lowered his head, but his voice was firm. "I serve the Empire, not your dangerous heart." Daniel's anger boiled. He stepped forward, glaring. "You coward. You hide behind her trust and stab her in the back." Guards grabbed him, forcing him to his knees. The elder raised his hand. "Take him away, prepare the trial." The princess moved fast, standing between them and Daniel. Her violet fire blazed from her hands, crackling with fury. "Touch him and you will burn." The hall fell into silence. No one dared move. The elder smirked. "So it is true, you risk everything for him, then you are already lost." Daniel's heart thundered. The room was heavy with danger. He knew the truth now. This was more than politics, more than lies. This was survival, and he was at the center. Finally, the princess turned, her voice echoing with power. "Hear me, counsel, I will not abandon him. He is my husband, chosen by me. He will face no trial. For if you condemn him, you condemn me." Gasps filled the hall. The elder leaned back, his eyes dark with rage. "So be it. You choose the human over your empire, then you will fall together." The council rose, their robes flowing like shadows. The guards lowered their weapons, but their eyes burned with threat. As Daniel and the princess left the hall, the air was thick with danger. The betrayal of her advisor cut deeper than any blade. In the corridors, Daniel whispered, "Why did you protect me? You could have let me go." The princess looked at him, her eyes filled with fire and something softer. "Because you are not just my shield anymore, Daniel. You are my truth." But Daniel could not shake the cold weight in his chest. The council would not stop. The betrayal had only begun, and somewhere deep inside he wondered, how much longer could they survive before the empire itself turned against them? The palace was no longer a home. It had become a battlefield of whispers and daggers. The betrayal of her trusted advisor had shaken the princess deeply, and Daniel felt the weight of every step they took. The council had declared war in silence. Their words were calm, but their eyes promised blood. The empire was turning against its own princess, and Daniel, the human husband, stood at the center of the storm. That night, the princess called Daniel to her chambers. Her violet eyes glowed, faintly in the dim light, but there was no fire in them, only weariness. "They will strike soon," she said softly. "The council has gathered allies. They will come not with whispers, but with armies. And when they do, they will kill us both." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then let's run. Let's leave this place." She shook her head, sadness crossing her face. "I cannot run. If I leave, they will burn the empire. My people will suffer. I must stand, even if it means death." Daniel's chest tightened. He had never been a fighter, never been a hero. He was just a man who once lived a quiet life on Earth. Yet now he stood beside an alien princess, about to face an empire. The next day, the storm came. The palace gates shook as soldiers marched. The banners of the council filled the horizon. Their weapons glowed with deadly light. Inside, the princess stood tall in her armor, her violet fire blazing in her hands. Daniel stood beside her, clutching a stolen blade. His heart raced, but he did not step back. The council entered, led by the elder. His cold smile stretched across his face. "This is the end, princess. Surrender the human. Surrender your throne, and we may let you live." The princess's voice was thunder. "I will never surrender him. I will never surrender my crown." The hall exploded into chaos. Soldiers rushed forward. Weapons clashed. Daniel swung his blade clumsily but with desperate strength. He blocked strikes, barely surviving. His body screamed with pain, but he refused to fall. Beside him, the princess fought like fire itself. Every strike of her hand sent waves of violet, energy burning through the enemy. Her eyes blazed with fury and sorrow, but the enemy was too many. Slowly they were surrounded. Daniel's arm bled. His body weakened. He stumbled, his blade slipping. The elder stepped forward, his staff glowing. With deadly power, his voice echoed, "You see, princess? Humans are weak, fragile, worthless. He cannot save you." Daniel forced himself up. His voice broke but carried strength. Maybe I am weak. Maybe I don't belong here. But I will never leave her. The princess turned to him, her eyes wide. And in that moment something changed. The violet fire in her hand spread to him, wrapping around his body. The palace shook as their bond ignited with power. Her strength flowed into him, his courage into her. Together they blazed like a single flame, Daniel roared, charging forward with a strength he had never known. His blade struck the elder's staff, shattering it into sparks. The shockwave hurled the elder back, crashing into the council's soldiers. The hall went silent. The soldiers froze, staring at the human who now burned with violet fire. The elder coughed, his eyes wide with disbelief. Impossible. A human cannot. The princess's voice cut him off, sharp as lightning. He is mine. He is my husband, and together we are stronger than your lies. The soldiers hesitated. Their loyalty wavered. Some dropped their weapons. Others stepped back. The council's power cracked under the weight of fear. The elder tried to rise, but Daniel stood over him, blade raised. For a moment the hall held its breath. Then Daniel lowered the blade, his voice firm. No, I will not kill you. That would make me like you. Let the Empire see who you truly are. A coward who fears a human. The elder's face twisted with rage, but he was dragged away by his own guards, his power broken, the hall filled with silence. Then slowly, the people bowed, not just to the princess, but to Daniel too. The princess stood tall, her voice echoing. Remember this day a human stood beside me, not as a servant, not as a pawn, but as my equal. Let the galaxy know, strength is not only in blood, but in choice. Cheers rose. The soldiers dropped their banners. The Empire bent its knee. Later, in the quiet of her chamber, the princess stood by the window, the twin moons shining over her. Daniel approached, his body aching but his heart steady. You saved me, she whispered, her voice breaking. Not just from them, but from myself. Daniel smiled faintly. I didn't save you alone. We saved each other. She turned to him, tears shining in her violet eyes. For the first time she reached for his hand, her voice trembling. I paid you once to pretend, Daniel. But now, I cannot imagine life without you. Daniel squeezed her hand. And in that moment he understood. What began as a lie had become something greater. Across the Empire, whispers spread. A human had stood against an empire and won, and far beyond. The palace walls in the endless stars. Other worlds began to listen because one simple man and one alien princess had changed the galaxy forever.